Hello, this is Dr. Louise Connolly. This is a second in a two-part series. It's entitled Pregnant and Already Depleted, What You Need to Be Adding Back Before You Conceive, and Why. Okay, I love talking about miracles, and pregnancies really are miracles. So, this is how to optimize that miracle. Both the first presentation and this presentation. And yes, I will be more explicit. So here we're going to start with optimizing the uterine environment. And it really shouldn't just start there. It has to start before you conceive. If you optimize yourself, you're going to optimize the quality of the egg you produce. And then that egg will be better able to pick from its host of suitors. And if your husband goes along too, then the robust nature of these suitors will be appreciated, and then the genes of your future child will be set. But that's really just the beginning, because your genes are modulated, and they're modulated by the environment, and we don't live alone because there are 100 trillion bacteria in our guts, others on our skin, others in our lungs, and we're symbiotes together. And how we transcript, how we deal with the proteomics, how we deal with the metabolomics is primarily determined in the uterus and in the first year of life, although we can do things after that. So, the two sides of the coin are this. The toxin avoidance, that's part one, and the nutrient repletion. And okay, I'll get around to it. I will go into this. So you have to shield thyself and you have to nourish thyself. And why in this land of plenty we have to replete ourselves is because our soil is depleted. Here's the United Nations Earth Summit data. North America, 85%, the soil's depleted. So if the soil's depleted, then the plants are depleted, and the animals that eat the plants are depleted. And you get calories, but not nutrients. So here are 3 studies. I just had to throw this in. This has to do with how toxin avoidance and nutrient repletion work together. And the first is a Big Mac study. There are many Big Mac studies. McDonald's is taking the brunt of a whole lot of different studies. So say you're going to McDonald's and you just can't help yourself. You just really need that Big Mac fix. You've had a bad day. And you go in and you wolf down your Big Mac, and then a researcher gets a hold of you and draws your blood and looks at things like interleukin 6, highly sensitive C-reactive protein, TNF-alpha, etc. These are inflammatory markers, pro-oxidants, that have been induced to deal with the Big Mac that you've eaten. And yes, they're through the roof. So a week later, you go back and you say, oh gee, I really need a Big Mac. But you come prepared, and you have your organic apple with you that you eat. And then you give in and have the Big Mac. And there's that researcher again, and he grabs you and he draws the same levels of inflammation oxidation. They're lower. Okay, let's move on to pregnancy. The first is a pregnant mouse study, and it's from a PhD named Randy Jertel, who's a real genius. Look him up. So, agouti mice are big, fat, yellow, diabetic, short-lived mice. So Randy did a number of experiments with them, and this one, he took a whole lot of pregnant agouti mice, and he fed them differently. One group got standard rat chow, The second group got standard rat chow and bisphenol A, BPA. It's a plasticizer, very bad for you. The third group got standard rat chow, bisphenol A, and some B vitamins, some methyl donors. And the fourth group got standard rat chow and methyl donors. And the life expectancy and phenotype of the pups were related to how much toxin exposure they had and how much methyl donor B vitamins they consumed. It's a fascinating study. Okay, let's move on to pregnant humans. This is a Chinese women's study that just came out a couple of months ago. So this is from an area in Japan where there's a whole lot of residual DDT in the environment. DDT was banned in China in 1972, as it was banned in the U.S. in 1972, and it's in a class called persistent organic pollutants, and it certainly interferes with pregnancies from birds on up. So here were 291 Chinese women who were going to conceive. Half of them were depleted in their B vitamins for 3 months before they conceived and 1 month after. The other half were given supplements so that they were totally replete in these B vitamin methyl donors. And the group with the B vitamin methyl donors had a 42% decrease in miscarriages. Okay, we're going to move on to specifics. Of course, food comes first. And in this world where we have all of the food that we could possibly want and are overfed, we are still significantly depleted in nutrients. So you have to think nutrient density, and you have to buy organic. That's less toxin, more nutrients, of course, in the organic food. If you're on a budget and you can't buy everything organic, then please go to Environmental Working Group, ewg.org, and look up the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 that I've displayed here. The Dirty Dozen are those fruits and vegetables that are the most heavily contaminated with pesticides, etc. And the Clean 15 are, of course, the cleanest. So I can't tell you how many patients I've had come in, say they're on a health kick, they got their NutriBullet, they make a smoothie out of spinach, kale, and apples every morning, and they don't buy them organic. So yes, they're getting some good stuff, but not a lot of it, and they're getting toxins along with it. More on food than just organic. Eat the rainbow. Look at your plate. How many different colors do you have on it? Eat a diversity. Only buy real food. That's in the periphery of the supermarket, so that's where the food looks like it was when it was on Earth. Skip the packages, the cans, and the plastics. Look at an ingredient list. The more ingredients, the worse. Don't eat anything that you can't pronounce. Don't eat anything that your great-grandmother wouldn't recognize as food. Okay, cook at home. Cook in advance for the week. It's kind of fun to do that on Sunday and plan what you're going to add here, there, and the other. It's almost universally better than what you'd get in a restaurant. Make those Vitamix smoothies for breakfast. Just know what you have to add in that's organic and mix it up. Breakfast. Breakfast wasn't made by Kellogg's Brothers, and it was not made by the Quaker Brothers either. Have a smoothie, eat leftover dinner. Now, of course, how you cook is important too. Don't cook in that Teflon. Cook it slow and don't burn it. So, Whole Foods Buffet is an excellent place to go if you just have nothing at home and are tired. When you go in, they use all of their ingredients there, and they have 100 different serving platters, and you can put it in cardboard and not styrofoam. And you can think about the rainbow and pick things that you haven't eaten yet. Get a little bit extra. You can eat it there, you can take it home, and have the leftovers for breakfast. And then if you need to eat, have some broccoli with your pizza, okay? It's density and variety. Now I'm going to talk about food supplements. So I call this my Weston Price slide because it's dedicated both to Weston Price and to Lauren Cordain and the Paleo Group. When we eat meat these days, all we eat is muscle meat. We don't eat the gristle, we don't enjoy the bone marrow, and we don't eat the organ meats like brains or adrenals or tripe or liver. Yet, these are excellent sources of diverse nutrients. So yes, you can buy them as supplements. Okay. The next category is your fermented foods. And I'm not talking Dannon yogurt with high fructose corn syrup in it and artificial colors and flavors. Talking Greek yogurt plain, kefir, and then the vegetables, not just the milk products. Anything from sauerkraut to kimchi to tempeh. There's not many of us that will eat natto, but if you do that, good for you. Anyway, then there's the trace minerals, because these are depleted from our water supply, and then a whole lot of those plastic waters, the plastic gets into the water, or they take out the bad minerals as well as the good ones, and the water's really just sterile, and you need your good minerals. We'll go into it in a little bit. So you can add them back to your water. You can use sea salt. Organic seaweed is a good source of a whole lot of minerals. On spice. So do you remember the spice routes in the Middle Ages? And how the three wise men brought frankincense and myrrh to the infant Jesus? Oh. Okay, so frankincense is Boswellia serrata. It's an anti-inflammatory. Myrrh is a preservative. So when you think of preservative, that's going to stop food from becoming putrid and rotten, from oxidizing, from becoming inflamed. And spices can do that for the food that you eat and the inflammatory markers that go up after you eat it. Everything from the humble pepper to the wonderful turmeric. You can also get into the green ones, the parsley, sage, rosemary, and thymes of the spices. And then you can get into the ones that actually help you detoxify. Cilantro will detoxify the soil. It'll make it better. But so will chlorella and watercress. Okay, the last one, I think that Weston Price would turn over in his grave, but it is true. If you chew xylitol gum in your third trimester, that kills bacteria that's in the mouth called strep viridans. And strep viridans is associated with gingivitis and caries. So if you chew the gum in the third trimester, your kid has better teeth, because there is an enteroplacental transfer of mouth bacteria across the placenta into the unborn child. And the unborn child is told to accept these because these are your symbiotic friends that are going to help you. So if you optimize your mouth with xylitol gum in the third trimester, you help your kid's dentition. So here are your almost food supplements. You can make bone broth. It's easy. but you can buy it already. And you can get Great Lakes gelatin. That's the brand I think I would get. It comes from both pork and beef. It's a powder. You can add it to smoothies or soups or whatever. And it's gristle, it's cartilage, it's joints. Okay. Then you can get a variety of organ meat powders or capsules. There's a buffalo liver. You can get beef liver. You can get lamb's liver. You got to buy it organic because the liver is a rich source of all nutrients, but it also is a place that stores toxins, so buy it organic. So then if you look at your minerals, you can actually add concentrates, mineral drops to your water. To me, it's a little bit dicey in pregnancy because although it has many, many great minerals, it also has a couple of bad ones. So I kind of recommend that. The kelp noodles that are there, they're called sea tangles, and they're kind of like spaghetti, but they're very rich in minerals. And then the biggest mineral depletion that I run into is magnesium, which has a wonderful track record in pregnancy, and it'll go in through the skin. So do some Epsom salt baths. Pick an aroma that relaxes you, because relaxation in pregnancy is really important. Now we're on to the supplements. And these are the categories: the B vitamins, the D, the omega-3s, the carnitine, the minerals, and the probiotics and prebiotics. If I look at how I see a pregnancy, and believe me, I would take all of these for 3 months before to the end of breastfeeding, but I look at the B vitamins as important in the first trimester. You're forming your fetus. You need your methyl donors. Okay? I look at vitamin D as the biggest prevention for all of the complications of pregnancy and fundamental to health. I look at omega-3 as the second trimester superstar, because that's forming the baby's brain. The baby's brain is fat, and you need to have those omega-3 fatty acids to optimize brain function, coordination, and things like that. Carnitine, here you're dealing with protein and mitochondrial electron transport chain and fat shuttling and diabetes. Important throughout, important for me mainly in the third trimester. Minerals are throughout, and probiotics, prebiotics is primarily third trimester. It's tweaking your fetus's immune system and setting it up for good immunity and autoimmunity. Okay, let's take them in order. Here's your folate, and how important it is, and how it's not just your routine drugstore prenatal, and it's not just about the March of Dimes spina bifida studies. This is an easy way to talk about a difficult subject. Folate, methyl donors. So what's a methyl donor that's derived from folate? It's that carbon with 3 hydrogens on the right side of the screen. And what it does is it tells the any cell of your body what to be. It does more than that, but we'll do this for the moment. Think about it. All the cells of your body have the exact same nuclear DNA. So why is a kidney tubular cell different from a rod or a cone in your eyeball? Because it's methylated differently, primarily. And methylation is the folding and unfolding of the Watson and Crick double helix, exposing this gene hiding that gene, etc. So the more specialized the cell of your body is, the more it's methylated. Okay, now let's look at a pregnancy. You've got an egg and a sperm, and each one of them is the most highly specialized cell of your body, wouldn't you think? So here they are, they're very heavily methylated. They get together and boom, all the methyl groups disappear. And you get an embryo, a blastocyst. And its total potential. One cell becomes 2, 4, 8, 16, etc. And each one of those cells could make an entire human being. So 10 days after egg meets sperm, this huge ball of cells plops into mom's uterus. And 10 days after that, you have a complete miniature human being. It's about ½ an inch long. But that is a whole lot of methylation. It's a whole lot of telling this cell it's placenta, this is umbilical cord, this is fetus, this is head end, tail end, front end, back end, let's get the heart beating, etc., etc. Let's set up the neurotransmitters, the emotions, the hormones, etc. Okay. So you run out of methyl donors, you're going to get into trouble in the first trimester. So let's look at part of your genetic code that is the enzyme that takes folic acid and a vitamin, folate and a green leafy vegetable, and turns it into an optimal methyl donor. And there's not just one optimal methyl donor. There are several, depending on whether you're doing structural or you're doing emotional. And what's a SNP? That's a slowdown in your ability to do that. And half of us are heterozygous. That means that we can process folate partially, and we need more folate in order to create the same number and type of methyl donors as somebody else. Believe me, it'll stop getting this complicated. I'll change things. This is a methylation map. These are some of the wheels of life. You want them to turn extremely rapidly. So right in the middle, do you see the MTHFR? I call it the mother-father, especially in this context. So your SNPs, your slowdowns, the first one, the 677, goes to the right. The 1298 goes to the left. Right is mainly structural. Left is emotional. Look at that, first wheel to the left of the MTHFR. You're turning amino acids, tryptophan and tyrosine, into serotonin and dopamine. Then if you go down past the first antidepressants, which were MAO inhibitors, you get to an enzyme called COMT. That's catechol methyl transferase, transferring methyls. Okay, that's how you break down your fight or flight hormones. It's also how you break down your sex hormones, your testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, etc. And all of these are on the X chromosome. So hormones and mood are related. Yeah. And women are more hormonal than men. Yeah. Interesting. But that's another story. Anyway, you want to have lots of methyl around. Here's an example. This is an article from Epidemiology in 2011, and what they're doing is they're looking at moms, and they're looking at moms that would have significant slowdown in 677 and a slowdown in something called CBS, which is a transsulfuration. It's a pathway. It's breaking down homocysteine. And a child that has a problem with transferring methyl off of both sex steroids and neurotransmitters. And this is what they found. So the mom had a slowdown at mother-father and a slowdown in transsulfuration, the two red things. And the kid had a problem with catechol methyltransferase. There was a 720% increase in autism. These are very interesting pathways here. Okay. So just to point out that methyl affects almost everything, and methyl comes from folate, and you need to pick your prenatal vitamin according to your SNPs of MTHFR. And beyond, I'm going to go back to Randy Jurtle. Here's his agouti mouse. So diabetes, coat color, longevities related to methyl donors. Yep. Okay. Here's some more roles of folate. So let's move on to vitamin D. My favorite vitamin. The most fundamental vitamin. And we're all depleted. Yes, we are. This is how I feel about vitamin D. Late night TV. Yeah, I really think you can take a dirt cheap supplement to get rid of a whole lot of your problems. Because all you need for life on planet Earth is earth, air, water, and sunshine. Sunshine is basic to life itself. We polluted our atmospheres, we live indoors, and we're all depleted. And besides, if we got outside and ran around in a loincloth, we'd get skin cancers and wrinkles and brown spots, and we'd get arrested because our atmosphere is polluted. So it's something that we do need to supplement. So here's what sunshine does for pregnancy. It looks like it prevents almost every complication of pregnancy. So then Bruce Ames recently kind of closed the biological pathway gaps on why vitamin D increases serotonin in the brain, decreases in the gut, increases oxytocin in the brain, and decreases autism. That's a fascinating paper. Omega-3s. So we're moving into the second trimester. And we're going to talk about brain. We got our folate in our first. Now we're going to make a smart, coordinated kid. So yes, your brain is made out of fat, and yes, DHA is the best of your fats. And on the bottom you have the minerals that are also important in optimizing a fetal brain. So what are your omega-3 benefits? Smarter kids, less inflammation, less oxidative stress, and you really do have to throw in the postpartum benefits, because the richest source of omega-3 DHA and EPA is not krill oil, it's human breast milk. So once you deliver, you keep your supplements, and you especially keep your omega-3s, because you don't want to breastfeed and deplete your own brain and get brain fog and get postpartum depression. You want to keep it up so that a whole lot of it goes to the baby. The baby's plates in the skull are not closed, and the brain's going to grow. So speaking of stress, there's way too much of it. Please adjust your attitude. There's little I can do about your boss, but your cortisol, your epinephrine does cross your placenta, and it affects your baby's adrenals. Of course it does. So if I could sit in traffic and do that, that would be really good for this blustery Irish woman. But I remember this cartoon a lot and try to practice it. A brain. So you need the protein, you need the minerals, you need your PUFAs. Choline's a B vitamin, it's very high in eggs. Okay, so let's move into the minerals then. Here they are. Here's that depletion of the soil again. And I'm going to say a couple of words about each one of them. Okay. But first I'm going to say another push-pull between good minerals and heavy metals. Okay. So what happens if you're low in calcium, magnesium, or zinc? Your small intestine kind of opens up to grab any mineral that goes by, and there are a number of different gates, and then there are enzymes. So the enzyme is kind of like the man standing outside of the store saying, "Come on in, there's a big sale going on," and the gate is opening the doors very, very wide. But the gates are non-specific. So if you're lacking in zinc, it will also take an arsenic, or it might take a cadmium. And then what happens is that these bad minerals, or heavy metals, are incorporated into an enzyme and they don't function. So it's kind of like the foreign coin that's going to jam the jukebox. So one of the things I do check is your whole blood arsenic, lead, mercury, and cadmium levels. They're on the top of the ATSDR list of the things that are most likely to harm Americans, and a whole lot of people do have an unrecognized source in their environment where they're getting these things. And then I'm going to check to see that all of your good minerals are high so they can crowd out the bad. Okay, so here's your good guys. Oh, the milk board. Got milk? My take on it is probably a not. Most people can get enough calcium from cruciferous vegetables and fermented dairy and other sources. You can always go on Fit Day and figure out how much calcium is in your diet. But milk is for babies and infants, and I'm not a cow. At least I don't think I am. Anyway, then there are the lactose intolerances, the casein allergies, and recent studies that really showed that milk consumption in females increased bone fractures and led to earlier death. And they speculate that it's a molecule that's in milk, a sugar called D-galactose, that's very bad for you. So if you ferment your milk, you get rid of the D-galactose. So you're better off, again, doing your kefir and your Greek yogurt, etc., than milk itself. Then there's a difference between an A1 and A2 ruminants. The A2 ruminants are the minority of the cows, but it's the goat and the sheep, etc. And you can look that up too. Okay, iron. Please replete this before you get pregnant. Yes, I checked somebody's blood count, their transferrin, their ferritin, their iron and iron binding. Iron's tough on you if you've ever had to take it for heavy periods. It upsets your stomach, so you throw up. You really need that in your first trimester, and then it constipates you. So you have to take it during pregnancy. You're more likely to get hemorrhoids. So replete this one beforehand. You can check it 6 months before. You can add a little easy to digest bisglycinate iron. I think the superstar mineral in pregnancy is magnesium. And 40% of Americans are depleted in this one. It has many, many benefits for those that are not pregnant, but it has just as many benefits for those that are pregnant. So I check an RBC magnesium, and I want it to be optimal greater than 6 before you get pregnant. So as any OBGYN knows, if someone goes into preterm labor, they're put on an IV drip of magnesium. If they have preeclampsia or high blood pressure in pregnancy, they're given magnesium. Repletion of your RBC magnesium before you conceive helps prevent these complications. So the other thing about magnesium is it makes you go. Good. Less hemorrhoids. And if you get constipated, you're going to recycle your toxins. Pictured here are different ways to get magnesium. You can get it chelated. That's an easier form to get into the body. You can natural calm is the magnesium citrate, so it's a powder you can add to your water, and you get some lemon flavored water. It has a little bit of a prokinetic effect, so it'll make you poop a little bit more readily. But if you can't get enough by mouth, because you really don't want to poop too many times, get it in through the skin. There you can do the Epsom salt baths. Or you can make this up. This is from the Modest Mom blog. And you can make up 6 months at a time. It takes only a couple hours. It's easy. So you can take your magnesium lotion, rub it on your belly so you don't get your stretch marks, and do a whole lot of prevention that way. Zinc. Zinc is my 3rd trimester metal. It's modulating the immune system. It's important in men for the vitality of their sperm. And there are certain signs in your blood prior work, the stuff I can draw on you, that you have a deficiency. A low white blood cell count, a low alkaline phosphatase, or white spots on your nails. Now zinc and copper play together and have a ratio, so too much copper can lead to a zinc deficiency and vice versa. But most of us have copper pipes going to our houses. But you can check a level. There's your optimal level. Selenium. Well, most people around here, because LA has a high selenium soil, are right in the sweet spot of selenium serum levels. So, selenium at too low a concentration is bad for your health, and also too high a concentration is bad for your health. So it's nice to be in the sweet spot, to be somewhere around, say, 140. And on the right is your sources of selenium. Since selenium is most important for glutathione recycling, glutathione is your body's major antioxidant, but it's also really important for decreasing thyroid autoantibodies. So when people that have Hashimoto's, for people that don't eat meat and poultry, and also shun bread and cereals, I'll check their level because it's important to be in the sweet spot. Iodine. This iodine level is also important in thyroid function, and iodine is very high in breast milk. And the thing about iodine is it plays with the selenium. It's actually, to me, the balance between the selenium and the iodine that's important in thyroid function. But 2009 JAMA study showed that most prenatal vitamins don't have the recommended amount of iodine, and that's 150 mics of potassium iodine. And it's essential for both maternal thyroid, fetal brain, and testing is difficult. The spot urine can be done. I don't find too many people here in Los Angeles that are depleted, because iodine comes from the sea, and those states that border the Pacific or the Atlantic, the soil is high in iodine. If you happen to live in along the Mississippi River or in the Farm Belt, that's a whole different story, and you really have to look at your iodine. Okay, carnitine. Carne asada, carnitine. Okay, so it's an excellent marker for protein depletion, for diabetes risk, for impaired shuttling of lipid moieties, for impaired mitochondria. So people that really just eat white and gray and are very depleted or are very thin, I usually run their carnitine level. Here's the pathway by which decreased carnitine decreases energy production and increases insulin resistance and diabetes. So here's the last part. Yeah, you're getting there. The third trimester, your asthma, allergies, atopy, and autoimmune disease. And this is about your zinc, which I mentioned before, and your broad-spectrum probiotics, prebiotics. Oh, the mighty fire within. You have to realize that you're not alone in your body, that your gut microflora outnumber the cells in your body 10 to 1. There's 120 trillion of them. And they're our friends, hopefully. They don't give us leaky gut. They help us digest our food. They make enzymes. We feed them, they feed us. If they're a bad mix, then the barrier between what's in you and you gets compromised. And 80% of your immune system surrounds your gut. So if you leak, your immune system gets overwhelmed. It makes more decisions in a day than the rest of your immune system makes in its life. And then your immune system makes mistakes, like not attacking a cancer, or like attacking your thyroid and giving you Hashimoto's, or attacking your joints and giving you rheumatoid arthritis, or not having the right balance in your lungs. It's another omic there. And you've got allergies or asthma. So we used to think that an infant was born sterile. It's really, really not true. Starting in the third trimester, as the immune system starts to mature, there's a interchange primarily between the mouth and the infant's gut. So what's in your mouth gets transferred. We don't really know exactly how. We think it may be through the lymphatics. And then it's allowed through the placenta. And then it's allowed into the infant's gut. So if you culture the placenta, you culture the kid's meconium, it does have bacteria in them that closely resemble the mouth. So then there are all these messages that are sent to the kid to say, you've got to accept these. These are your friends, and where they belong is in your gut. So that's your enteroplacenta circulation, and that's the first wave of inhabitants that come on through. And really, it's not just the kid's immune system either. You start looking at things like what's in mom's vagina, which is going to be the second wave of inhabitants within the kid's gut. And that's going to be associated with preterm labor, premature rupture of membranes, because many of those things are an ascending infection from the wrong balance of things in the vagina. Then there's something called group B strep, which will harm about 1 in 1,000 infants, and 20% of us carry it, and they give you antibiotics in labor, which wipes out your vaginal flora. And there's just a whole lot more. We're just beginning to understand this. Probiotics, broad spectrum, a decent brand. Some Saccharomyces boulardii would be nice. Perhaps some Femdophilus, which is a lactobacillus that loves vaginas, would be nice. Oh, and you thought I'd get through this without mentioning celiac brew? Yes, I checked for it. Celiac brew is that gluten-free stuff you're talking about, and it's the autoimmune disease where you strip off the lining of your small intestine and leak everything, and there's this huge increase in schizophrenia in the infant if the mom has celiac brew. Okay, so here's the placenta, and the first wave is going to be in utero. The second wave is going to be through the vagina. So you don't want a C-section if you can help it. And the third wave is actually through your breastfeeding, the enterolactal circulation. Yes, you would think that you would transfer skin flora into the child's mouth. Yes, you do. But you also transfer gut bacteria into the child's mouth. So they actually did studies in families where there was a whole lot of allergies, eczema, atopy in the family, and they just supplemented once the kid was out in the first year of life with probiotics and prebiotics. It didn't work that well. And then they found it worked much better if you did it in the third trimester as well as the first year of life. Okay, so this is me and this is how I do it. If you come in, I look at your history, your family history, your concerns, what's going on that makes you you, and I'd love to see prior labs. Then I check out the baby house itself. That's a transvaginal ultrasound. You certainly don't want fibroids and polyps in there. Then these are some of the labs that I run on people 6 months to a year before they conceive, if I can get to them. Your heavy metals, the ones that are in your whole blood, the ones that you are being exposed to right now. Markers of susceptibility to toxins, your GGT, WBC, uric acid, and alkaline phosphatase. Then I look at your good minerals. Check that RBC, magnesium, and zinc, your serum selenium, your ferritin, your CBC, your transferrin. Then I'm going to look at all of your folate donors, and I'm going to get your MTHFRs, how you optimized your folate, and homocysteine, which can be a sign that you really need more. Then there's the pill that can prevent all ills, vitamin D, a 3-month omega-3, your carnitine, your albumin, your hemoglobin A1C. A peek at your cultures, your mouth and your vagina, and your thyroid and celiac panels. That's how I do it. Okay, here's your summary. Get the toxins out. Optimize your body's detox systems. Nourish yourself well. Enhance your food, your water, your air, and your skin. Food first, then water, then plants, then minerals, then supplements. And this is long enough. That's it. So thank you very much for listening to this long-winded female. Goodbye now.